Приветствуем всех гостей и участников круглого.
We would like to greet all the participants at our roundtable discussion. I'd like to remind you that this roundtable is conducted within the framework of the conference, and the program was calculated for stimulation of young employees. But last week, the government of the Russian Federation has expanded the program, and now it includes, in particular, citizens who have lost their work as a result of closing the companies or reduction of personnel. And the employees can also get their subsidies of the state. State subsidy is also ensured for refugees from Lugansk and Donetsk republics. So interaction between the different governmental agencies, how the employment service is engaged in it, and the latest fresh figures within the framework of this program. We will speak with the leading experts and with representatives from the regions of Russia. And I would like to give the floor to a representative of the Ministry of Labor and Employment, Mikhail Vladimirovich Kirsanov, Director of the Department of Employment of the Population and Trade Migration of the Ministry of Trade. Thank you very much to attend to this conference, and it's good that representatives of the regions are participating in such conference. The work which was started for stimulation of employment, as you have mentioned, of young people as well as expanded groups of people in order to facilitate the work of employers in the sanctions conditions, and certain pressure is exerted on our economy. So the opportunities which are envisaged by our decrees directed for stimulation of employment, so that after 1 month of employment, their employer can get compensation. Звук пропал. Which will allow to resolve certain issues so that the employer would employ young specialists and citizens of refugees from Donetsk and Lugansk republics, and those who need support for employment. It's very good that employers meet the requirements of the program willingly. It was predestined for young specialists and now for other specialists. And we have certain figures, and we think that this topic is very promising, prospective, and I think that we will see of the program necessity in these conditions when by autumn we have tension on the labor market, which is higher than usual. So we can discuss during this program implementation the situation late this year. I would like to greet everybody and wish good work, and I'm ready to answer all your questions. And I would like to wish certain cooperation in our work. This program, it is not a separate program of social insurance fund or social employment. This is a result of complex work for active employment of those who are needing employment. And by joint efforts, jointly with the employers, with all the interested parties, resolve the necessary tasks in order to reduce the risk of unemployment. Thank you very much. I wish you good work. Thank you very much, Mikhail Vladimirovich. First, you for such optimistic introduction. And the question, which is interesting for all employers, and the minimum monthly wage has been increased starting from June. Will it also influence this figure in the... Yes, of course, we will take it into consideration. We are working with the colleagues from the Social Insurance Fund, and we have mutual understanding. Of course, the minimum monthly wage will be calculated in accordance with the new figure. It's very good news. For colleagues, journalists, I would like to note that representatives of regional mass media are also listening to the results of our conference. And we will be able to ask all the questions. And now the floor is given to a representative of the program, Federal Program for Labor and Employment, Irina Yurievna Zubkova, head of the Department of Control and Coordination in the sphere of employment of the population of the Federal Service of Employment. What is your cooperation with the employment services? Thank you very much for invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about the situation of our work and answer the questions in this direction or for subsidy of employment. In continuation of Mikhail Vladimirovич's speech, I'd like to say that last year it was necessary on the results of 2020, the pandemic, difficult year, when many citizens of Russia lost the job or the salary, and unemployment significantly grown at that period. And it was necessary to work out state measures directed for support of employment, for reduction of tension. And last year, for the first time, this decree was adopted for support of employers in employment of young specialists. What's the difference of this year as compared to the last year? Last year it was oriented for employment of citizens which are registered as unemployed. As of beginning of the year, then on the 1st of August of last year, so those who received unemployment subsidy and the employer could get subsidy. On the results of 2020, over 36,000 people were employed. They included unemployed and young specialists. So altogether 85,000 applications were submitted. 31,000 employers participated, and 189,000 work employments were available. There's a difference, of course, between these figures. It was the first year. The employers also submitted their applications, and it was the first year, and the results have shown that employment services have shown that employers are interested in such work, and then it was decided to extend it to this year. What has been done by Russian employment service? We have signed agreement with the colleagues from the Federal Insurance Fund. The employers to employment agencies, services. So if the person is within the category, subsidized category, then the person is getting compensation. First of all, we wanted to provide opportunity to supply such applications, to submit such application. And the second thing, create the modules in Russia and coordinate methodological work for citizens of the Russian Federation, that our employment service doesn't have such hierarchy. The Ministry of Labor is working out policy, and employment services are working in the subjects within the structures of executive power of subjects of the Russian Federation. So coordination and the methodological work is conducted on the federal level. So our task was to monitor the employment services, assist if any problems occur with employers. And during last year, we successfully worked. Later on, I will tell you on the portal. And now, let's speak about the results of last year. Last year, these are the vacancies, the professions, specialties, which has displayed the maximum number of vacancies. First of all, the professions which do not need special classification. The question arises, why this direction was most in greatest demand? For the first year, the employers have started this work for the first time, and those who are registered as unemployed, these are specialties which do not need specialization skills. They were in greatest demand. Please pay attention that among the employers, they also specified the vacancies for accountants, doctors, which require certain education and skills. Last year, I'd like to note that Belgorod region, the only region which has fulfilled their work, over-fulfilled the plan of work, and their best experience will be used next year. In 2021, the main task was to ensure employment for unemployed people. In 2022, taking into account the results of the previous year, the direction of work has changed. Subsidy during employment was provided for employers who are employing young specialists. For these 6 categories, so any young citizen who is below 30 is in this category. For instance, if a person graduated from higher education institution or just unemployed and hasn't got professional education, young people who have minor children. So practically, all categories of young people were included into this category of support. I'd like to draw your attention that the task is not precisely to provide work for such people for the whole of their life, but the main task is to ensure first place of work for young specialists who have problem at the labor market, so that they can get the first place of work, so they can work 10 years or maybe certain period of time. So we are all aware that the more person is without work, particularly if the person is young, it also worsens his psychological situation and overcome difficulties during work. So I'd like to stress once again that this direction is spearheaded for employment of young people as the first place of work, so that he or she will be in the employed state. So as of today, The situation is as follows. So we have worked for 3 months, and during this period, over 30 applications were submitted from employers. The program is participated by over 10,000 employers, almost 75 working places, and 25,000 vacancies. So in my vacancy, we can have several workplaces. For drivers, for doctors, it is very important. As of today, the greatest number of working places are in the regions, which are the leaders in these 3 months. Leaders in the number of the employed people. I'd like to note Altai region, which is invited for presentation. Think that they will tell us about the best practices which can be used by all employment services. As to the wages and salaries, this year the salaries of the vacancies are higher. Last year it was 2250, and now 21,000 is the average wage related with the changes of minimum monthly wage. It will be even higher. This year we observe the demand in vacancies of the same level, which do not require special skills. Doctors, accountants, salespersons, the number of vacancies increased. And a number of other specialties. So we will monitor the changes of the structure of vacancies, and will assist the regions which have any problems. As it was mentioned already today, that changes have been introduced into the decree. The group of people include young people, as well as those who were dismissed in the previous year. Those who are under the risk of dismissal, the labor agreement with which was concluded this year. In parallel, due to this situation in the economy, we are changing the work of restructuring the work of labor services. We are trying to find out enterprises which provide not full working day, or which are under the risk of in order to prevent their dismissal, such as transfer to temporary work, transfer to other work, when that enterprise will be temporarily stopped. So it's very difficult to make forecasts by the end of the year. So all the citizens which are under the risk of dismissal, which are monitored by the employment services, the employer can also get subsidy. And the third category, additional category, these are citizens of Ukraine, Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic, who arrived to the territory of the Russian Federation as refugees. should get their certificate of refugee or temporary refuge certificate. So in which way the employer can submit an application for getting such subsidy? During several years, the portal is working. We called it basis of vacancies of the analytical system in Russia. But during recent 2 years, our portal has turned from informational one to a digital platform in the sphere of labor and employment. So employers can conduct interaction with labor and employment service, and starting from this year the process of search for work is subdivided into 2 tracks. One track is for citizens who apply to employment service, and the objective is to get their unemployed status and get subsidy. And the second category of people who are searching for work. Previously, these 2 tracks were united into one. Today, we can use a separate track without procedures of getting subsidy. And if a person is still working, but the employment service can provide vacancies. Before this year, selection of work was conducted in the residence region of the citizen. Since each employment agency has its own processes and database of vacancies. Now all the regional databases are united into one digital mechanism and platform, so one can get work throughout Russian Federation. Depending on the list of regions, which will be provided by the person himself. So the employer can supply for employment, and the data about the employees and search for employees. So we have already present-day technologies of search of work for employers, mass-scale selection, and and also the tracks individualized for person. This portal can use for different kind of support. So when a person applies for a subsidy, the enterprise will get all the information about the participation in the program, what criteria should be met in order to participate in the program. Everything is described step after step. Submit an application, and the final step is application for subsidy. In addition, the portal is a unified digital platform which is a large-scale player providing opportunity for employment. As compared to Superjob and other employment resources, this program is fully state-run and free for participants. As of today, the portal has over 2.3 million vacancies. And I'd like to draw your attention that in the beginning of the year it was 1,600,000. So now the growth, 1.5 growth is witnessed. And this is a good sign for search of work. As of present day, the portal speaking about the list of specialties for subsidies, I'd like to stress that the priority vacancies are in production sphere, over 2 million vacancies. To be more precise, 700,000, and as well as qualified engineers, workers of low qualification. Many enterprises have their program of training and retraining, and young people can start work in big enterprise and then get training and retraining and become successful worker. Second sphere is construction. Usually construction was rated as first, and third is public health. 150, 160 vacancies on the portal are available. This is also a very good opportunity for further development and search of work. At present, the portal has 13 million users. Therefore, I am inviting all employers and participants to expand this information about the unified digital portal and use the opportunities of our digital platform. That is practically all I wanted to tell you. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I can answer your questions. Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. So I'd like to tell that it will be possible to ask questions from representatives of key departments participating in this program. So you can ask questions. Irina Yurievna mentioned that the leading regions with best practices within the framework of this program is Altai region, and we are inviting head of department
занятости Алтайского края.
We invite Madam Kapura Nadezhda Arsentyevna, head of Agency for Altai region for Labor and Employment. Please, could you share your experience and what you've attained so that other regions could also use it? Dear Anna, I'd like to thank Minister of Labor of the Russian Federation, Rostrud, presented by Mr. Kirsanov and Madam Zubkova, as they are concerned with the issues of employment in the region, regions, and the program that's been effective for now and was effective in 2021. It's important for us to have such a resource because local regions, local markets are different, and unemployment also varies. So the program turned out to be a mechanism to keep employment among the youth, because the youth is in our particular focus. Today, centers of employment in the regions are creating links between employers and employees, and there is an opportunity for direct contacts, not only with each of them in particular, but also via an opportunity to meet them in the platform of employment so that they find out what their further track is in employment and how they can choose the first or the next occupation. In Alta region, 43% of our territory is rural, and the balance between demand and proposal allows us, thanks to these mechanisms, solve the issue for the youth under 30. It's also important that such categories as youth getting back after military service, regular military service, get back. We understand that having finished the school or professional education, they go to the army, and when they get back, they are not as experienced in looking for the job. They are not certain, and then the employment service can help them, can support them, and can ensure further employment. What's important for the youth that does not have any education, these are also people after the army, and the employment service can not only propose employment, but also within our program events as employment support program, studies for the job, studies to get qualification of the driver, for example. These are the professions that are on high demand today in our territory with the applicants. Last year, 322 employees took part in the program. About 1,500 people are employed, and we know that the program is in high demand. And employers are also active in this program. There are many job openings, and employment of the youth under 30 are getting employed. Some of them have already found their jobs, and there are other job openings that we are working with right now. Today, there is a certain track being built for each applicant and employer. As for our huge participants, there are the Soviet groups, for example, and they take part in stimulating the employment of certain youth categories. We also work with Pavlovsk pro-Belokuriha company. Belokuriha is our real germ, is what we appreciate. Professions of confectioner, of cook are on demand, and this is where the youth find their first jobs. How do we attain the results? It's cooperation between the agencies and heads of employment centers, knowing both employers and employees, find focus to solve each issue of their lives, of our citizens, propose them options for employment, and here those who help us are not just heads of municipalities and regional agencies, but also interagency structures, institutions of the civil society, employment services, professional employment education services, commissions for minor citizens, for those who are in a dangerous situation, and those who need to go out of those dangerous situations. So we support our partners and also get support from civil society, from trade unions, unions of fathers, mothers, disabled people, And together we solve the issue of unemployment among those under 30. If we mention the current year, there was employment in many sections, for example, the driver, tractor driver, machine operator, the guard, or other professions. Our partner company Fournet has employed the disabled person, and there is a young person, a young man, disabled, who works there. His mother helps him to come to the job, and it's beneficial experience for socialization of disabled people in the society. And within this particular program and this category of disabled people, employment is subsidized in food industry, construction, restoration and construction of roads, trade, and we do understand that these mechanisms, this program, should be talked about so that there are more subsidies for hiring unemployed people. Therefore, we do work with the media currently, with the social media. We use regional newspapers to inform the population and hold roundtables, workshops at the level of municipalities and in our structure, in our agency. There are also emails coming, sent to different institutions so that they join the United Digital Platform, and there is an opportunity to submit in a digital format an application to take part in the program, and therefore they can see the most interesting options for them. There is close interagency cooperation between different governmental agencies and entities, and we're thankful to our educational system and Ministry of Education and the youth agency, because those under 30 are under our close focus and can be employed within the framework of this program, where we stimulate the employer to employ the youth. So briefly, that's it. And the major point here is close cooperation as direct dialogue, as an opportunity to solve a particular problem or issue of an applicant and employer, and that's it. Thank you so much. And I'd like to ask you a question. Today we found out that according to the recent data from the portal Work in Russia, the most popular professions turn out to be medicians, and we understand that COVID pandemic is going down already, but in your region, is it true that there are so many vacancies in the healthcare sphere in your region? Yes, true. Healthcare vacancies are one of probably 10 leaders, and they're on high demand, as well as teachers, engineers, highly qualified personnel, not only in Altai region, but probably in many subjects of the Russian Federation. They are under close attention. We do cooperate with the healthcare institutions, and at the level of the government of the Altai region, some documents have been elaborated. At the next session that will take place on the 24th of June, a new program will be adopted on ensuring personnel, on stimulating the youth who decided to take part in this program and to be employed in the healthcare sphere to solve this issue and to satisfy the demand. So there is direct cooperation with the educational institutions of different levels. For example, it's Altai Medical Institute and other support measures implemented not only on the level of the region, but also at the municipality region. At the level of municipality programs, we adopt programs to allocate allowances for those who would like to be employed in the agricultural system. About 60 measures we have for supporting young professionals who would like to be employed in the priority industries, and it allows us to be optimistic concerning the future to satisfy all the demand for the healthcare. Thank you so much. One more question. How ready are you for enlarging the program? Technical issue? So, how ready are you for enlarging, expanding the program to include other categories of citizens, those who've lost their jobs, who are refugees? How ready are you for that? Yes, of course. We do work for these categories in other programs and in additional measures adopted at the level of the government of the Russian Federation. And today I'd like to tell that there is a stable situation concerning employment. The tension coefficient is 0.7 right now. For 7 applicants, there are 10 job openings, and that's why we're optimistic. But we understand that the situation is uncertain and it can develop with certain difficulties. Therefore, the employment centers today, within the framework of preventive monitoring, together with other specialists, analyze local labor markets. We see the risks, and specialists in particular industries help us. Those from enterprising agencies, from food industry help us. And as soon as the enterprise has a demand, then we do support this enterprise on the governmental level. But the situation in the labor market in Altai region is quite stable. 1.2% is the unemployment level. And common indicators are one of the lowest for recent 4 or 5 years. There are more than 20,000 job openings, and 13,000 people are filed in the employment service. So there are particular mechanisms to solve the issue. We do control the situation in the labor market and therefore are ready to get enrolled in any situation in any enterprise. Thank you so much for your work, for your presentation, Madam Kapura, head of Altai region for employment and labor, and we address the federal agencies, and we know that the one responsible for paying is the fund that checks the employer and after that pays the compensation for enrolling the youth. And right now I'd like to ask the head of department for ensuring social allowances for the Social Security Fund of the Russian Federation, Mr. Tolkachev Vyacheslav Sergeyevich. Thank you so much. Today our round table is more about technology from the source, like Ministry of Labor as a source of methods, then intermediary agencies are Rostrud, and employment services, they're connecting the government to the population, and we work more like a treasury, like a payment department, and technologically I'll tell how it works, mention the figures, and we'll proceed with those for whom this order was allocated. From above participants of this order is Rostrud, employment services, the central structure, Minister of Labor also help us here, the pension fund and tax service help us. Rostrud sends us the list of employed citizens, and there we carry out verification whether these citizens work for these employers. So with every tranche, there are 3 tranches altogether, we verify whether these employees employed or not. Then we carry out verification concerning the arrears, wage arrears. Then the application on subsidies can be allocated on the side of Social Security Fund. Access to the personal account is via login and password, as well as in Gosaslugi portal, and the regional division getting the registers of those employed by you work with your application, and if there are any mistakes, they contract employers. After that, the subsidy goes to the settlement account and goes after first, third and sixth month of employment. The application is only submitted once, and the subsidy will be paid in a certain time. After that, the employer is informed in the site of the Social Security Fund, where he can search for his application and all the stages it goes through. The subsidy can be calculated from the minimum wage and insurance contributions multiplied by the number of those employed. As for unemployed in 2021, according to the then order, there was a problem of unemployed, and as for unemployed, I've allocated more than 1 billion rubles of subsidies. More than 7,000 employers have got the subsidies for about 7,000 people. And we keep paying them in 2022, following our obligations of 2021. In December 2021, some of them had opportunity to submit their application, and in 2022 they can already get their allowances. Then we've analyzed the results and found out that it's beneficial. 80% of employers got all the 3 tranches for their workers. So all employees worked for half of the year. It's good. It means that there is permanent job for people, that people are happy with the job, that the employer is happy with the qualification of those employees from Rostrud, from the employment service, and unemployment of last year, like unemployment this year is lower. We almost attained the pre-pandemic level. And sometimes we got pairs, like employer-employee from different regions, and in general, we can compare them on like quite a beneficial basis. In many regions of the Russian Federation, subjects like Ingushetia Republic, Bashkortostan Republic, this year the youth is also enrolled from 16 to 30 years old, and by this youth we can see the results and the figures. Social security funds and agencies have paid 13 billion rubles, and there are about 600 young professionals employed. There are also about 5,000 young professionals awaiting, but no application have been submitted about them as of now, but the process is still going on, and it's good. We see that the main regions are the same as last year. The leading regions are Ingushetia, Altai region, Bashkortostan, Krasnoyarsk region, Volgograd region, Komi region, Irkutsk region, Tiva, etc. We see that many employers do use this service. At the Social Security Fund, we technically guide them in the process, and we've ensured programs so that the regional divisions transmit us lists of employers and employees, and every branch their personal managers for each project, their Telegram chats, and the hotline where both employers and employees can address, and the insurer of the employer is also there, and the employer can see him and all the stages he passes. Also in the portal faces.ru, there are instructions to follow, visual materials, and everything is clear more or less. And the employer call rarely actually to ask something because they already have all the information. As for personal account, it's also clear. You can be authorized and then allocate the application for subsidy. It will take about 1 minute, and you can add their citizens you need to add and send the application. The parameters for subsidy this year are almost the same as last year. The parameters change slowly. The first and the 6th month remain, and as you know, from the 1st of June, the minimum wage has grown. Even from the start of the year, it has grown, and employers to employ somebody before 1st of June, they've got the tranche of 13,000 rubles, and those who employed somebody after the 1st of June, they have the elevated subsidy of about 13,000 rubles. As of results, in 2021, no less than 80% of employed should be at work within 6 months. For those employed in 2022, the criteria have been changed. In average, if somebody is employed, we pay the subsidy, and it's 100% insurance of employment, so the criterion is different. We also remind you that the employer can use their right for subsidy for the same employee no more than once. No more than once, this employee can be taken. And once again, as we've already been told, once again I'll mention about the order 1021, enlarging list of categories of employees. First quality category are those without the job, under the risk of reducing the state, those who are under risk of dismissal, and those who are citizens of Ukraine, Donetsk and Lugansk national republics. The category under the risk of dismissal, that is a great work of employment centers. We do understand that here there is dismissal and transfer from one employer to the other under agreement of the employers. So the employment services not only know who they file, but also find them employers and find job openings. And only after that, the person is transferred to a different employer. And it's a complicated job, really. In a nutshell, we can, probably that's it. And here there is one question, probably quite close to the subject. We know that the labor law makes it possible for the employer to put a trial period for several categories of citizens. If this trial period is used, what is happening to the tranches? For example, some tranches have already been allocated, but after the trial, the employee is not good enough. What do you do in that case? The trial is also employment contract. The person is in an employment contract, and all the information about that is in the pension fund. After verifying the information on whether this person works or not, doesn't matter whether it's trial period or not, the pension fund gives us information about that, about each citizen, and we pay the subsidy. But if the person is dismissed or leaves the job, or in the end of the trial there are no more labor relationship between him and the employer, then we'll not pay the tranche if we understand that the person doesn't work there anymore.
It's a very interesting nuance. I'd like to draw your attention. And now the floor is given to one more roundtable discussion from Social Pension Fund. Head of the Department of Personalized, Natalia Alexeyevna Belyantseva. Head of the Department of Organization of Personified Registration of Pension Rights of the Insured of the Pension Fund of the Russian Federation. Dear participants of the roundtable, my colleagues already discussed in detail what they are doing jointly with the Employment Service. Therefore, participation of the Pension Fund is somehow beyond this general work and is arranged on interaction with Social Insurance Fund. For implementation of the main purpose for payment of compensations to the employer, jointly we signed an agreement on information interaction. As Vyacheslav Sergeyevich mentioned, the Social Insurance Fund sends to the Pension Fund, on the basis of register of the employer, the list of citizens who have been employed. The Pension Fund is checking compliance or if the person is really working with this employer, and confirms or not confirms. So I'd like to draw your attention to the following. Confirmation. And this information is prepared on the basis of your accounting of the employers, which is submitted to the pension fund. This is electronic labor book. In case of employment or dismissal, the employer is obliged to submit the report to the pension fund on the next day after the issuance of order. This is specified in the legislation, Law 27, Federal Law of 1st of April 1996. It is called the Individual Personalized Registration, which is fulfilled jointly with the employers. So these very short periods for submission of reports on the next day after issuance of the order, during COVID period, when it was necessary to create favorable conditions for Russian citizens, for those who have difficulties with employment, and employers submitting the reporting after the issuance of the order on employment. So if you look at the statistical data, you can see that in 2022, the Fund of Social Insurance has considered 11,000 requests for employees, and 11,000, and we have confirmed the fact of work with specific employer. So there's a small difference of about 33 requests. There are two causes. Maybe the person was erroneously included into the list, or information about the labor agreement was signed with specific employee. So you should pay attention to that. As it was specified, the Social Insurance Fund will check the number of employees employed during 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. So please be attentive and provide reports on employment and dismissal of employees for proper provision of subsidies to our employers. So that is my main information, and if you have questions, I'm ready to answer them. Thank you very much, Anna. So for the participants of our translation, so employees from different regions of Russia will ask questions. So you can ask questions to the Social Insurance Fund and Pension Fund. Altai region is invited for participation. Altai region is one of the leaders within the framework on subsidies in employment of different categories of citizens. Now we are waiting for connection with Kiprinskaya. Kiprinskaya Joint Stock Company. The director is Yegorov Alexey Gennadievich. The company, different participants of the conference. Please tell us how this subsidy company has assisted you. Good afternoon once again. Our enterprise is involved in cattle breeding and production of milk. And we are also engaged in plant growing. We are also growing legumes and grains, and the conditions of the market allow us to conduct modernization retooling of our enterprise. Our company is developing very fast.
Выключите второй компьютер в вашем кабинете. Идет залог, недостаточно выключить микрофон, просто выключите его совсем, закройте, вынесите, тогда все будет хорошо. Спасибо.
Our company has 5 farms from 5 rural settlements. Cattle breeding at present involves great labor resources. In 5 rural settlements, we are using all the labor resources of these 5 rural settlements. And the number of employees at present is 470 persons. Average wage was 29,000 rubles, which for our region is a good wage. And nonetheless, we need personnel, we need employees, more employees. That is why we are sending to employment agencies and services, and jointly with the employment service and social insurance service of our region, we managed to attract more personnel and actively employ them and get subsidies. The subsidy is used for social issues. We are involved in provision conditions for higher skills training, by housing for our personnel. And I think that these efforts of the state provide us additional opportunities in order to employ a personnel issue. Thank you very much. You mentioned that you are looking for more employees. What employees you need? What specialists do you need? Milk ladies, drivers, mechanizers. We have representatives of employment services here, and I hope it will be taken into account. Thank you very much for your work. So, making a comment as to the topic of our conference. Tomorrow morning we'll be in Altai region. So tomorrow we will contact with you and we will help you in finding personnel. We are ready for cooperation. Thank you very much. Alexei Gennadievich, we wish you success in finding such employees of high demand. And now we have one more representative, one more employer from Altai region, is Soviet Grains, involved in growing grains, except rice, legumes, and oil cultures, seeds. Korj Angela Georgievna will make a presentation. So what is the situation with your personnel? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Our organization was created in 2003. We are involved in production. The growing area was on rented land from the population. So let's wait for resolution of the technical issue. And then we'll give the floor to the next speaker. We started our work in 2001. We have reached the indicators of 35.6 centers from 1 hectare. The same year, we have modernized tractors to replace obsolete tractors. So combines and trucks were used. Present-day production base was created. The company has 6,000 hectares of land. The total number of employees is 65 persons. Our company is producing wheat, soya, and other grains. Sovetskaya Krupa company is cooperating not only with the enterprises of our region, but also conduct sales on different regions. You can get information about our company in the internet. Sovetskaya Krupa 2021, which will display a film about our organization. The film lasts for 1 hour. As to implementation of the program of support of employers, we have found it out through the Social Insurance Fund and Employment Service. We have got acquainted with this program, and the decision was made to submit the vacancies, and according to which we have registered 10 persons registered as unemployed. And in 1 month of work of such employees, we've got in 1 month, the second in 3 months, and third in 6 months. So the decision was made to increase the number of employees. Thank you. Thank you very much, Angela Georgievna. Did you meet any serious problems in search of necessary employees? So, did you find new employees without problem? Yes, rather easily. We found the employees which were in high demand. I also want to mention that the vacancies which were submitted are tractor drivers and drivers. Thank you very much. Do you want to add something? Angela Georgievna, I'd like to ask, to what extent the employees which you obtained from the employment service, did you have to train them? Or maybe they had different qualification as compared to what you wish? The employees quite met our requirements and the criteria which were forwarded to the employment center. That is fine. Thank you very much. Now the floor is given to representative from Omsk region. Solnechная Polyana Open Joint Stock Company. Production of grains, non-ranified oil, and their fractions. Рычагова Мария Александровна, main accountant, chief accountant. Our open joint stock company Солнечные Каманы, we are main producers in Omsk region. So we are growing grains, of non-refined vegetable oils. The growing area is 11,000 hectares. So we are also growing wheat, sunflower. In 2021, we have sold another faction is processing of oily goods. We produce vegetable oil and also feeding for cattle. Within the framework of the platform, in 2021, our organization has got subsidies, and these employees were very valuable for us. So those were drivers and tractor drivers. So we have provided all the necessary documentation for in submission for subsidies. The assistance of the state within the framework of the program is used for purchase, for buying spare parts, for machineries, and for social needs. In 2022, we continue to work in this direction. Jointly with the Employment Service, we are working in contact with Social Insurance Fund. It was rather easy to submit the documents for getting subsidies in online mode, and it was easy to get all the instructions and order of fulfillment of the documents. So we are very thankful for very friendly assistance. For us, it's very important to get employees before the season starts. So this assistance helps us to resolve our everyday problems. Starting from sowing period to processing of the ready products. And this assistance provides us an opportunity for non-stop work of our organization. Thank you very much. You said that you would like to continue to use this program. So what employees are you planning to employ, and what is your average level for such employees? So the same as last year, the previous year, the salary is 21,000, and we need drivers and tractor drivers. Thank you very much. We wish you success in employment of employees. And one more representative of Omsk region of agricultural production cooperative Novorossiyski, which is involved in growing grains, legumes, and oil culture seeds. as well as cattle breeding. Dear participants of the conference, my name is Vladimir Panchenko. I'm the head of the agricultural cooperative Novorossiysk in Omsk region. So we are involved in growing grains, legumes, oily culture seeds, and we are involved in animal breeding. 5.5 thousand hectares are used for growing wheat, barley, peas, and oily cultures. The cattle is not rather big, so we are planning to increase it to 1,000. Our organization is producing seeds, and we are producing drinking water. We are administrating with schools in resolving the issues of regional level. Last year we've got subsidies in the amount of 28,000 rubles. So 4 employees were employed. 2 of them are tractor drivers and 1 is a lorry driver. We have observed all the requirements for employment. So after first, third and 6 months of their work, the assistance of the company as compensation to payment of tax, insurance payments and wages. So we saved money which were transferred to the budget of our rural settlement, which allowed them to build a playground for children, and very good playground for children was built. So we continue to work according to this program. As of today, we are looking for 1 more employee, and other additional employees. So there were no problems in submitting requests to the portal. If we had any issues, so the employees of the Social Insurance Fund helped us to resolve all the issues. I think that such a measure of support from the state of business in this difficult time for our task, such difficult period of sanctions, is very good support from the state. And we will participate in, and other enterprises will also work in cooperation with the employment service. Thank you for attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Panchenko, for your work. And could you please tell of those employees that you were looking for, you found them without any difficulties, right? Actually, we do find the groups where we can employ people, and there are enterprises that are ready to provide us with employees of needed qualification. Okay, thank you so much for your fruitful work. Thank you. And we invite the Republic of Bashkortostan, the State Unitary Agricultural Enterprise, Machinery and Technological Station Central of the Republic of Bashkortostan, will be presented by Madam Shaykhaydarova Zinaida Petrovna, Head of Personnel Department. Thank you so much. Dear participants of the round table, am I audible? Right? Yes, let me introduce myself. My name is Shaikh Haidarova Zenaida, and I'm the Personnel Department employee of the State Unitary Agricultural Enterprise. And we are under the guidance of Ministry of Agriculture and Property Relationship in Bashkortostan, and we manage 33 districts of the Republic. We do manage to cover all of them, and we have the central department and 10 branches where 1.5 thousand employees are enrolled, and in the peak season the number is about 2.5 thousand. In 2021, 31 employees we had, and then in the framework of the program, and we were supposed to get 17,000 ruble subsidy. There are also age categories of employed in the program, and the average age is 50 years, from around 30 till 61 was the age of the employees. As well as our colleagues from the previous enterprises, the coverage of employees that we need, tractor drivers and lorry drivers, also technicians and common labor personnel. As of percentage of the employed in 2021, 45% or 14 people were enrolled as tractor drivers of agricultural and manufacturing site, 23% of drivers, and 10% of common labor personnel. The subsidy really helped the enterprise because our times are difficult for all enterprises, we can say, and we put this measure to improve our machinery, our inventory, and this year we are also about to take part in this subsidy. These are the main points I'd like to tell you about. As for qualified and unqualified personnel, of course, we do work with the Employment Center, and thanks to the Employment Center, Employment Service for answering every plea we have, because the main contingent is in the agricultural rural area, and we work with the regions. The employment centers help to enroll applicants who have addressed them. We work in seasons, and those employees who work for one season are filed in the employment center in the winter, and then they come back to us. And that is the way we work from year to year. We take seasonal workers, they're almost the same, but thanks to the government, last year we used the subsidy and acquired the funds that helped our enterprise. That's it, probably. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much, Madam Shaikh Haidarova. Do you have any questions? There are representatives of federal agencies who take part in implementing this program. Everything is clear for the employers, and no questions seem to be arising. Last year, it was quite easy to work with the subsidy. It was all smooth with the Social Security Fund and the Employment Center. We prepared the documents, the lists, and there were no difficulties. Last year, no questions arose. As for this year, as I understood, there were several categories of the youth. For example, last year, the average age was about 50 under the subsidy, but this year I'll not manage to employ them, as I understood. Unfortunately, our contingent is tractor drivers and the youth does not tend to be enrolled in this sector. So these are middle-aged people. For now, I don't understand how I can use the subsidy this year in difference to the previous one. So here is the problem for me right now. There is a minor commentary. We can recommend you to pose attention to the youth, because like after tractor drivers get old, who will be the tractor drivers then? Today, there are many formats of state support with requalification, with further studies of professionals. You can send those who are not qualified for you to study, or the youth can study there and be enrolled. So there is a wider way to look, and you can use the format. Thank you so much. And we also thank Madam Sheikh Haydarova and wish you luck in employment. And now one more region is coming, Irkutsk region. The deputy head of East Siberia Regional Center for Structural Subdivision of Corporate Calculation and Reports, Zhelda Rostrud, that is the branch of Russian Railways. Madam Khadusheva Larisa Anatolievna, I am head of the branch of Russian Railways in Irkutsk region, and we work with the tax reports, and I will report you briefly on what is going on in this program and how many people are employed right now, and what we can do next to take part in the program. Russian Railways joined the program in Irkutsk region from 2022, and in facilitation employment of the youth under 30. In general, in Irkutsk region, Russian Railways has more than 90 branch offices, but currently only 3 of them take part in the program. Those who cooperate with the employment center got the information about the program, and currently 11 young specialists under 30 are employed in 3 branches of Russian Railways. Their professions include operators, cashier specialists, and conductors. I think that their number will only grow as accounting and tax division. We will cooperate with the Social Security Fund and inform our subdivision, our employers, under our guidance, so that they take part in the program. Today, I also noticed some movements that I think should be crucial for our subdivision. The circle of those enrolled has been enlarged from 2020. Then we also should use the platform, the United Digital Platform. That's it. Thank you so much. And if any agencies have questions, but no, there don't seem to be any. And Madam Khadusheva, you don't have any questions, do you? No, it's clear. We'll just work further. Thank you so much. And Volgograd region is also coming. Afini Volga Ltd, cattle growing, and the representative is Madam Smolikova Yelena Alexandrovna. We're waiting for you. Welcome. So I represent Afini Volga Ltd in Volgograd region, Mikhailovka, created in 2014, and for 8 years we've been working in cattle substances area, and currently 81 people work in the site. In 2018, we got the information about the state support program and subsidizing unemployed people while they're employed. We do cooperate with the center, supporting people who need jobs urgently. From 2022, the program stimulates employment of young people under 30, and we'll put for us it's a prospective area. Right now we're negotiating with the institutes, with the universities, and invite young people to the enterprises, provide them with shelter, with food. It attracts youth, of course, and as they are still students, they can earn, and we accepted 6 professionals within the framework of state support and got subsidies for 2 workers. We take subsidies from different, for employing different categories of citizens, and can rely on state support program. We also can support refugees from Ukraine, Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, provide them with jobs. We are enlarging our manufacturing of agricultural products and will seek to enlarge participation of our enterprise in the program, and think that participating in this program helps in solving the issue of unemployment and both employing the specialists who are need. We'd like to enroll more youth in our enterprise. Thank you. Thank you. So within the program, many participants are ready to enroll. For example, refugees from Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics. So we are done with the regions part, and I propose to the Social Security Fund to draw up conclusions. One more question I'd like to pose. We've heard that there are several purposes employers have in using the substances, for example, the playground. So are there any limits or general directions of how we can use these funds from the subsidies? Is there any practice, common practice, or explanations about that? Right, so when this order came to existence, then we tried to understand how to make the employer employ those from the employment service. And we found out that the subsidy is used to increase salaries of those who the employers will employ. But several employers already have quite high salaries for the regions, and there is no need to stimulate the worker by increasing the salary with a subsidy. Therefore, the employers put this money in developing the enterprise, and it covers all the expenses. They improve the machinery arsenal and enlarge their territory probably. The Social Security Fund does not check where the funds go. We don't have any powers like that. So now we we can draw up a small conclusion. So then employers confirmed that the measure is quite fruitful and efficient. There is no need to cooperate with the federal agencies because we can solve all issues in the regions on this level. Sometimes it's quite difficult for the employer to find the employee of needed qualification, but there are also support measures for further studies of change of qualification. And Madam Sergey, the head of employment department of the Social Security Fund of the Russian Federation. So, by the results of our roundtable, we can say that there are different ways in which the subsidy works. The subsidy is good, enterprises see it, and they have an opportunity to increase the level of their workers and the way they get benefits from the program. The projects are more available than in the pandemic's time. All agencies had to improve their services, their functions, and an opportunity has come to introduce such a project where different agencies take part, including Social Security Fund, Pension Fund, Tax Department, Rostrud, and that's all thanks to digitalization that we need and will need further. So to sum up, as a Social Security Fund, we think that the project is good, is convenient. Right now, we are trying to make it more popular, to tell about it, to raise awareness in regional divisions and departments by conferences, meetings, seminars. The state possesses an opportunity to help the insurers, employers, and employees, and don't hesitate to use them. Thank you so much. So, with such an optimistic note, we're finishing our roundtable and the 3-day conference of the Social Security Fund of the Russian Federation devoted to social partnership. We've drawn up conclusions and told about tracks of development and wish you health and success in your work. Thank you.